Jon Morosi with us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. JP, we were just reminiscing about your response to Dave wanting more waiting. So it's an iconic response there, and we appreciate that back and forth that happened.
I appreciate it indeed, and great to be with you. Yes, indeed, I was at Citi Field last night in New York, and I'll be honest, I was able to actually spend one night this week as a sports fan. And so I just so happened to be in New York.
Wow.
When the Pistons were playing the Knicks in Game 5, the ticket I bought, and yes, I bought it as a fan, it might mean I haven't told my kids yet they're not going to college anymore because of how much the ticket cost. But it was worth it, and I saw a dramatic win by the Pistons. Detroit is now back as a basketball town, and the whole experience is pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, getting to be a fan. JP, we do want to ask you about the Mariners, and I know you've been busy traveling and watching the Pistons, but certainly you've seen what's taken place with this team, 7 straight series wins. Dave and I were kind of wondering about the coaching impact of that. What impact Dan Wilson and Edgar have had with this team, that the offense looks really good. They're getting on base. They're being aggressive. How much of that can you chalk up to coaching?
I think it's certainly been a big element, Mike, and we saw the change, of course, late last season. The Mariners realized, and it wasn't that Scott Service was deficient in these areas at all. I think it was just time for a different voice. And sometimes with a new voice, there are different points of emphasis. There's been a lot for this team already to overcome this season, with Robles being out, Julio struggling, of course, for the most part in the month of April. I've been impressed at the way that they have kept this group united. You look at the American League West right now, and I know it's hard to say this on the 1st of May, but here among friends, it's the Mariners' division to lose. I really believe that, and certainly there are some concerns there with the pitching staff, injury-related. I get that. But when you look at the totality of what they've been able to do, and still the ways in which I believe this group can get stronger as the year goes along, they've got an A-level closer. The bullpen has been stable. But I think to get back to the premise of your question, the offensive approach, I believe, has been better. And even if you improve your efficiency or effectiveness in 2-strike counts, or by running the bases, going first to third more often, by 5 to 10%, that's going to make a hugely meaningful impact on the standings. I think we're seeing that so far. And I think all things considered, think about all the years we've gone back and had conversations. This is about as good as I have felt about a Mariner team at the end of April that I can recall in the last several years.
Yeah, I think it's there's lots of things to like right now, like, the bottom of the order. But one of the things that kind of stands out to me is that they're still 8th worst as far as strikeouts go in Major League Baseball. And I don't know if this is fair or the right thing to look at, but the slug and the OPS, they're top 10. And that, I mean, you can stand the strikeouts, right, as long as you're getting extra base hits and hitting for power, and that's also what's going on. And we talked last year about, gosh, if we could just get on base percentage, slug, OPS up to like the middle of the pack, it'd be great, because they were in the bottom 5 all of last year. And yeah, it just seems like the coaching is taking effect. Like you mentioned, Edgar, JP, as far as the hitting goes, it's been really good. That's to me, I feel like that's the most refreshing thing. But what do you think is the key to this 7 series in a row streak they got?
I do think the coaching has had a meaningful impact, and I think with Edgar's lessons, and certainly I'm not in the hitting meetings, of course, myself, but what I can piece together by what we're seeing right now is there's a better plan. There is a better plan. I think the 2-strike approach is better, and I think they're also just getting better pitches to hit. Swing decisions is the buzzword that you hear a lot now in Major League Baseball. And I think when you've got someone who's in the Hall of Fame giving you that lesson and giving you that message, it really resonates a lot. And I think, too, you consider the depth of the lineup and where the damage is coming from. There are threats at more different stations, more varied stations of the lineup than what was the case last year. And you can, to your point, you can live with the strikeouts when you know you are getting the damage. I think last year's offense, where they had some issues, was you were getting a lot of strikeouts without necessarily a ton of power and a ton of run scoring. I think as long as the runs are crossing the plate, by whatever formula you get there, you can live with that. And again, part of that too is when you have a lineup that can slug, which the Mariners are now building towards that. Raleigh, certainly should be an all-star this year based on the way that he started this season. When you've got a team that can slug and you've got a team that can run the bases well, it just puts pressure. It puts pressure on the opposition. And I think too often a year ago, pitchers were comfortable going against the Mariners. And I do think Edgar's voice has helped in this regard. They're just a harder team to game plan for. You think about it, if you're going to an advanced meeting before a series begins, the pitching staff, the game planning coaches in many cases, pitching coach, if there's a catching coach, sort of the defensive room, if you will, the defensive coordinators, so to speak, there's a thought of, okay, how are we going to stop this team? And the Mariners right now are presenting the opposition with more things for them to think about because they're able to use their legs, I think hit for more power, and we're seeing the results. And again, it's Mitch Garver has been a little better than he was a year ago, maybe even substantially better than he was a year ago. But the point is they just had to improve enough. And if you were not going to change a tremendous amount of your personnel, you at least had to change the messaging and the approach. And for a team that clearly was not going to play at the top end of the market in free agency, they weren't going after Juan Soto. There was a few players they weren't just going to be able to afford. Okay, you have to find different ways to maximize your ROI, so to speak. And I do think the coaching staff has been a major focus of the organization, and it's worked.
Well, JP, they don't need Juan Soto. They have the best hitter in baseball, Jorge Polanco, right now. He has been sizzling, and I'm not sure any of us expected that, but is it as simple as he's healthy and that adds, physical, you can swing, mentally, you feel a lot better? What have you seen with Jorge Polanco to the start this season?
The health is number one, Mike, and we talk about just the skill set that he brought to the team when he was acquired before the 2024 season. And remember, the idea last year was he was going to bat third. The Mariners saw that type of player in Minnesota. That's why they acquired him. And I think that the key word when you talk about the health and the impact of it now and the way that he's playing is explosiveness. Explosiveness. That athletic spark that I remember seeing him have in the American League Central for a lot of years, that's back. And when you balance that with a switch hitter who can play, obviously, some fairly demanding defensive positions, I would imagine, I don't have it off the top of my head right now, but if you look at what the Mariners' record is when he either scores or drives in a run, he's become the catalyst to this team. I will say it all season long probably. Cal Raleigh is the most vital, the most indispensable player on this roster, but in some ways Polanco has become the most catalyzing one, the spark plug of the team top to bottom. And you just think if Julio eventually gets back to being who he has been in the past, and then you join him with Polanco and an even better version of Cal Raleigh and a little more productive version of Garver, and Dylan Moore's having this renaissance this season, you start to like a lot of the things that you're seeing from the lineup right now. And of course, it's not quite time to talk about this yet, but they also have the type of farm system to where you might be able to make a move. And after falling short of the playoffs each of the last 2 years, I would imagine that ownership, Jerry DiPoto, Justin Hollander, realize the extent to which the fan base is going to expect a very impactful trade deadline based on where they're at.
Boy, we saw Robles yesterday, and he's not being quiet.
No.
We know that about him. He brought a broom into the media room, and he's screaming out things. I mean, he seems fired up, but like he's in this big contraption for his shoulder. And then you saw the Luke Raley thing. I mean, I don't know if you saw that video, JP, but where he takes a swing and he like drops to the ground, and and you just look at. I mean, that's the one thing that always kills a team, right? Is injuries, and those are things you just can't really count on. But with Logan, with the tightness, and you haven't had Kirby. I mean, I don't know if Robles is going to make it back or not. And same thing with Rayleigh. Really, if you look at they said they shut him down for like 5 weeks,
6 weeks,
6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean but I don't know how long can you count on Leo Rivas having, an on-base percentage of, what is it, close to 500. I mean, it's really cool to get that kind of stuff, but it also, out of those kinds of players, but it also makes you think, how long can this go on? I mean, how deep are they? And I don't know, right now, I think I'm with you. I think that the coaching is carrying it, definitely, but does it kind of give you some pause when you're looking at, the injuries starting to stack up?
It does a little bit, David, but I would also say this, that you look at the rest of this division, I'm not sure there is a full-strength, fully talented team that they're competing against head-to-head right now. The Astros, yes, that they've gotten a little bit better maybe since the season began, but they're not who they used to be. And the Angels, I don't think, have the consistency yet. The Rangers... I look at some of their pitching. It's a little bit up and down still. Offensively, Marcus Semien has really struggled this season. I think that this is a division of flawed teams. If the Mariners were in the American League East right now, their record would probably look a lot more like what the Rays' record is right now, or maybe they'd even be in fifth place based on how good the AL East is, or even the National League West, which is a really deep division. The Mariners right now are in a very advantageous division from a competitive standpoint. There's still good ball clubs there, but none that really scare me. And so while I agree there are some injury-related issues this team has, and certainly none more concerning than if the absences of Kirby and Gilbert go on longer, because we know how important they both are. But it doesn't strike me that the rest of the division is poised to take advantage of the Mariners in some way. I think this is going to be one of those divisions that can be won with 89 wins, maybe 90. It's going to be somewhere in that range as opposed to 100. So the Mariners just have to keep playing good ball, and I believe they'll find their way to the postseason. So I think the rest of the division is helping them right now. And you look around, if what they have to get at the deadline is a corner bat, like a corner outfield bat, to fill in the Robles Raley production where they thought that was going to come from, you can usually find a Tommy Pham at any given time. There's a reason why he's always moved to the deadline. He's a good player, first of all, but that's the type of player, a veteran on a one-year contract, who tends to get moved. And interestingly, I don't think he's coming back to Seattle, but just for evidence of how volatile this part of the market can be, Jared Kelenic was just sent down to the minor leagues by the Atlanta Braves. So this is a part of your club that if you're not getting big-time production, there's often someone else who can play a corner spot and makes your lineup better. And again, we'll see as well on the pitching front, the Mariners don't need a dramatic reshaping of their rotation, at least not from what I can see right now. These injuries don't seem to be super long-term, but it's a lot easier to get a competent rental starter, this year's version of Zach Eflin, if you will, someone like that, to fill the gaps if the absences of Gilbert and Kirby go on a little bit longer.
Perfectly summed up there, JP. We appreciate the time as always, and we will catch up with you again next week.
Sounds great. We'll see. I'll have some